Hello and welcome to VOLTLIFE. Today I've got something a bit different, a tutorial and making of video about a modular soundtrack I made for an animated data visualization. In my day job I create visualizations of complex data sets, in this case a traffic flow across a city, and I wanted to give it a soundtrack that followed the ebb and flow of the animation. I'll start by explaining the process and patch details, follow that with a live video of the recording, and finish with the final animated visualization. My computer doesn't have a CV-capable interface, so instead I created an audio file that could act as a kind of conductor. I used an open source tool called R to create the animation, so I also used this to measure the total traffic volume across time, and export a sine wave whose amplitude was proportional to this volume. I then converted this wave file to a .raw file using Audacity and loaded it onto an SD card. I used a radio music module to play this audio into an envelope follower with extra slew to generate CV. For this I used my Korg MS-20 Mini, but there are plenty of envelope followers in Euro that would work. This CV, representing traffic volume, then drove the density of rhythmic patterns using Klasmata and the harmonic structure of a verbose harmonic oscillator, as well as the filter cutoff for the bassline. The verbose and Klasmata created rhythmic plucks via a WASP filter driven by a sharp function envelope. This made sure that the plucks were busier and brighter when the traffic was at a peak. I also created a very traditional East Coast bassline patch using a sawtooth and modulated pulse wave through a low-pass filter and VCA. As a sequencer, I used a verbose voltage multistage through a sequential switch to make a 16-note riff, plus a gate pattern to open the filter and VCA. The CV from the envelope follower also modulated the filter for extra squelch at busy times. The drums came from a Korg Volca Beats, playing, of course, a noise-style Motorec beat. This was synced to the main clock, but I had to start and stop the beats manually. I used a Steady State Fate PTG to bring the drums up to modular level, and a surge resonant EQ to beef up the appropriate frequencies and make the Volca sound a little less tinny. Finally, there's a drone that continues throughout to give an ambient nighttime feel at the start and end. A big open chord from Braids went through a Pittsburgh filter in notch mode, and both were modulated by LFOs to give wavetable movement and a pseudo-phaser effect. This then went into a Metasonics R52 to take off some of the digital edge and bring some valve nastiness. The Optodisc was mostly to make up for the R52's quiet output, but it also imparted just a little bit more warmth. Some parts were now structured to automatically follow the traffic volumes, which gave me a framework to improvise around and create more musical interest. This is the final take that I used. Once that was recorded, I added the audio to the animation video, and the final result was ready for my presentation.